Hello guys, welcome back to another video with me on Brand. So today we're going to build this very beautiful web app. So we are going to name it like as Job Finder AI. So the technologies you're going to be using is, first of all, in the front end you're going to be using Nextjs, and then for authentication you're going to use Clerk for authentication, and then for our API, the one that will be able to help us get now the particular jobs, we're going to use like an API known as the Adzuna API. And then for the backend, we're going to be using Node.js for the backend, and for our database, we're going to be using Postgres database from Neon. So that's the technologies we're going to be using it today. So example, let me show you the application here. As you can see, like first of all, trying to log in, because as you have realized, like first of all, someone needs to log in or to create an account before they can be born out to search for particular jobs. Yeah, so after logging in, so like 1 second. So this is how it looks after I've logged in. Now let me import now the particular information in the input, so that I can be able to get the particular jobs and show you how it works. Now let me include here the necessary inputs like this. Then this next one. Then let's see if you're going to get now the particular jobs. And the best thing about this web app is that you can be able to get any job you want, and it's particularly like searching the particular job and the particular location where you want the job to be located at. And also you can also, after you've applied for the particular job, you can be able also to see it on the history. So as you can see here, some of the jobs that you've been able to see. You can see there's the job description. You have also the company and the time you have applied. You can see everything, and also you have that button for which states that if you press it, then it will take you to the particular place that you need to be able to apply. Okay, so let me press this, and I want to show you something. If I press this, it's supposed to be saved on our history, and then other than being saved in our history, like also the particular information is supposed also to be saved to our database. So one second. Okay, you can see like after pressing it, now I was redirected to another page where it is showing me now the particular description of the particular job that I had applied. You can see that I want to apply. You can see here is an example of the particular one that I had pressed. You can see. Now I want us now to move here, and I want to show you again with another one. But before that, let me show you how the history. You can see after pressing that one, if you come to the history part, the history is supposed to show you like all the jobs that you have applied. You can see here in the history you have now the information of the job you had applied. The only issue is that I had pressed the button twice. That's why like you can see it appearing twice, where it's supposed to only appear once. Yeah, but that's a small issue that you can be able to solve it, or you can be able to add on your own. Yeah, let me just delete this. But you can see like after having pressed that part of apply, it assumes that I've been able to apply successfully, because you are being redirected to another part. So that job information has been saved to our database. Okay, yeah, you can see now. But the history works perfectly. Even if you press that part of the link there in the history, it will take you still to the particular job you had applied. Okay, yeah, that's how it works. And the best thing, it gives you like, it still like has all the necessary information. Example, let me press that, and then I want you to see, you can see I'm being redirected to the particular job that we had applied. You can see. Now let's turn here, and then I want us to do something again. You can see also our Clerk works perfectly as normal. Yeah, everything looks okay. I want us to change, I want us to change also the particular information and put another information so that you can be able to be sure, to be clear. So let's change this information of the job and the location that we had included. Let me just change first of all the profession to something else so that you can be able to see for yourself. Okay, so 1 second as it is getting the particular jobs, and as per our API we have just included that we will be getting like maximum of 10 jobs. You can see here the jobs for that particular profession. It's still the same, and I'm also going to still press that view, apply that part of the applying so that it can be able to be redirected to another page. 1 second. And the best thing is that, like, I want you to also check like the description, because in the description I'm going to include now the particular URL for the deployed site. Okay, so that I'm more like to test it on your own. So you can see here is the particular place that we were redirected after pressing that. So yeah, everything is working perfectly. Yeah, so everything is working perfectly, and even if you come to our history, you'll see that particular one that particular job that we have just pressed right now. You can see like everything is appearing okay. Yeah, everything looks cool. Look, everything looks okay. And that's now like let's also try again another input, just to be like to be clear again, because I don't want you to think that maybe it's working for particular kind of data. I want us just to change everything and for you to be able to see it again. Now this is the last thing, this is the last part you are going to be doing, last explanation for how the web app works. So still passing. So let me press this and then show you again. Pressing to apply. 1 second. And then it will be redirected to the particular page. Okay, so here is the particular page that you are redirected to. Yeah, and everything looks okay. Yeah, so you can see also the job information is clear, and yeah, so from this point is where then you can be able to apply. Still also the history works perfectly. It's showing us like all the particular information as needed. Yeah, so like that looks okay. Here we have all the information, and all this information is saved to our database PostgreSQL that I told you earlier. And right now we only have like one table. Like in our Postgres you only have just one table, and that table is the one that contains the particular information for history. Yeah, we only have just one table, but you can add as many tables as you want. It just depends on you. Like currently, like this web app that you built, what you can do is that you can continue by adding like more features if you want, and then to be able to make it look much better. You can add as many features as you want, and yeah, just as you want. You can add anything, but the thing is just make it to be much better as compared to how currently is. Okay, so I think from there that is I think we are through with everything. Then I think let's start now with our project. Yeah, let's just start with our project first. So let's open like to the terminal, or if you're using like either the terminal or the CMD, and then I'm going to make two folders. So the first folder is for the backend, and then the other folder is for the front end, or you can just name it Viewfinder AI part. So the backend is going to contain the Node.js backend, then the front end is going to contain the Nextjs front end codes. Okay, so and then make sure to install like all this dependency just the way I've done there on the CMD. Make sure you've installed everything there that I've shown you there. But there's something that I forgot to show you. I also had installed Clerk and also Nodemon. That is for the backend. Yeah, I don't think I had shown it, but I think I had installed it late. I installed it later. So make sure to check that. Yeah, so that's how it is. So we have now the main folder, and then inside the main folder we have now those two folders there. Okay, you can see here as I've told you. Now let's come to our neon, and then here in the neon we are going to only make just one table. That is the transactions table. Not really transaction, that is the what is it called? Yeah, we're just going to make only one table. And if you're a newbie, if you come to neon, and then if you press this button, you're going to be shown taken somewhere here, and then after when you include your particular information, be able now to make your database name. You'll be able to give your database a particular name, then just follow the instruction, and then you'll be able now to make your particular table. Okay, but I had made it earlier, so yeah, I won't make it again because yeah. So let me just come to the one that I had made, and then I'm going to give you the particular table schema that we're going to make. As I've told you, we are just going to make only one table for this project, and then we'll be through with everything. So this is the schema that I'm going to give you, as you can see. So yeah, so I've pasted it there, and then you just press the create, then we want to create that particular table. And the reason as why you are using Clerk ID is just for security purposes, because if we wanted to, we could just check the user email, and if the emails rhyme, then you can be able to show them the particular string. But I thought that by using Clerk, then to be more safer, because email anyone can get hold of him, but no one knows about the Clerk information except the admin, and it's more secure as compared to an email. So that's why I had included a particular like the Clerk ID. Okay, so that's how it is. But I'm going to include that information in the particular assets folder in the description, so make sure to check it out. Yeah, so after doing that, I have to come also to our Clerk. But before that, let me just return here and then show you something one last time. One second. Yeah, here you'll need, like, after you've been able to make your table, make sure you copy this string. Make sure to copy that string and put it very careful. So that string, you can paste it in your backend.env or .env.local. So make sure to copy that URL and then paste it there. It's going to be really useful, because that is the one that connects your application with the database. So after doing that, if you come to Clerk, and then if you follow everything, then here first we're just going to be using only the Google. So only the Google social login and not the email, and then just put your particular information for the particular, like a particular login name. Just just include it there, and then if press create, then your particular authentication with the Clerk is created. So the main thing you're going to need with the Clerk is only two. You're going to only need it's the publishable key and the secret. Only those two, and then those two are going to paste them into our .env file. Yeah, I know there are other things like maybe in regards to maybe like the middleware.ts etc, but what you just need is the particular codes that we're going to include in the .env, because after you get like the particular information and you include it into the .env, then yeah, the other things can follow later. So after coming here, I want to show you something, but just make sure like to, if you come to this place like around the around API and webhook, be able to see like around API and webhook, you'll be able to see how to get now the particular information. Let me show you how. And then make sure like to copy it and then paste it in the .env. This is how it is. So copy this information and paste it into the .env, and as you can see it's Next because you're using Nextjs. But if you're using React, make sure like it's React. If you're using like the particular language, make sure it's that particular language. Okay, yeah, just to avoid any confusion. Now after we've done that, I want us to now come to the particular last part, which is the Adzuna API. So Adzuna is just like the place where like we have all the particular jobs, and for us you can be just to access it. Okay, so I already had an account, but if you are new to Adzuna, which I know most of you will be, make sure to register. Like it's the process is very easy. Make sure you've registered and then you verified your email, and then after you verified your email, then you will not be given now the particular API. And the only thing we need here is that the API key and that application ID. Those are the only two things we're going to need in Adzuna. Nothing more, nothing less. So make sure to register first. Let me show you something here so as to make it much easier for you. And to be able now to know like Adzuna, you can like that particular URL that we are talking about is not just adzuna.com. Make sure it's the developer.adzuna.com if I'm not wrong. But to know like the particular URL, just write Adzuna, and then you're going to see that part with the API part. Make sure to click it, and then you're going to be taken to the developer part. Okay, so here's the information you're going to fill if you are registering, but if you're logging in, very easy. So make sure to fill all the information, and then you're going to get a confirmation message in your email so as to confirm everything. Okay, so that's how it is, and then copy this and then paste it in your .env or .env.local. Okay, so that's how it is. Now let us now move to the particular making the particular codes, and then we'll continue making the application like vividly. Okay, so before we do that, I want us first of all to come to our .env. So this is the .env for our backend. Like I want us now to paste the things that we had included earlier. Example, you have now the Adzuna app ID. Okay, also the Adzuna app key. I hope you can remember. These ones are the ones that we had copied earlier. This one like contain contains now. This is the one like we're going to use. You're going to use Adzuna to be able now to get any particular job that is has been listed outside, like that has been listed in the internet. Yeah, so Adzuna is the one that's going to help us to do that. Also, we're going to include now a port of 5000 because we want our backend to run at 5000. Okay, and also we're going to include here a next public Clerk next public publishable key, even though this is not a must, but let's just include it there. Also we're going to include now also the Clerk secret here. The backend will just need the Clerk secret, but we can remove this publishable key because it's not a must, but this one is just a must for the front end. Also, we have now another thing, which is the database URL, which is very important. Okay, so this database URL is the one that will, this one is just the database URL that we had copied from Neon, yeah, from Neon in regards to our Postgres database that we had made. Okay, so as I told you, like these two are not a must. Okay, you can just comment them. You can comment them, but yeah, let's just leave them still. But you can comment them like they're not a must. Okay. Now after I've done that, I want us now to come to our index.js, because I want us now to start running our backend as appropriate. So first of all, you're going to start by importing express and also importing .env, which are coming from .env. Another thing, you're going to import also cause coming from cause. Then import, that is the job routes coming from /routers/job routes. Also import the application routes. Then you're going to include now like a console.log, which is going to have this message server running on port. Then you're going out to regards to the port here, we're going to now use the same port that we had, this same port that we had here in our .env. Okay, you're going now to include them. Then another thing, you're going also to include, that is a port of 5000. Here we're going to say like const port is equals to process.env, and then here we're going to use now the port 5000, or in case, let's say, if maybe we fail to include that 5000, is going to just be included there automatically. Okay, also you're going now to include now the particular config, because without this config we cannot be able now to access the .env file, so you need to include it. Also we need also to initialize now express, and also include now the part of the cause as appropriate. Okay, now let us also now start now including a particular route. So we're going now to include now the first route, which is for the API job routes, which is this one, the API job routes, like that you can see. So that will be app.use, and then that is the route, the path is /API/jobs. Then now include now that job routes, like that. Then also now let's do the other one for the part of the job history. So it's going to be /API/applications, and then include now that is application routes, like that. Okay, so after that, now first to be able now to make sure that if we run, everything is going to be okay, you can just include here an upheld, so to be able to check now if the server is running or not. The main aim with this health check will just be to be able now to give us a particular message on the terminal, so that you can be sure if it's running or if it's not running. Okay, so let's now try to run it. It is, let's now try, that will be npm run dev. But before we run npm run dev, I want us to come also to package.json. I want us to include something. Now in your package.json previously, I want you to include this same code here. This one for start, include here, that will be node index.js. Okay, and then here also include now this part of the dev, that is node-mon index.js. Okay, I'm going to explain to you later. Also another thing you're going to include this part here, which says like type is, which say that type is module here. Type is module. So the reason why we're including this type is module is so that you can be able to use them, because our backend are going to make it using a structure known as the ES6 structure. ES6 structure uses now the imports and uses now the imports as appropriate as possible, and yeah, so we'll need to include that one. Okay, so the reason why we're including now this one, also this one is for the development. That's why we are doing here. That's why we are doing here like npm run dev, because that means if we say npm run dev, is going to use node-mon to run now our index file, which is index.js, to run our index file, which is index.js. Okay, Now for our development, for our production, this one is just for development, okay, for locally, development locally. Now for our production, it's going to be npm start. Okay, that's why I say here npm start, and we don't, for development we don't use node-mon. Just say here node, and then put that in that index file, which is the index.js. Okay, now do that and then save those. Very important, because if you don't do that now, it's not going to run. And then here we're going to do npm run dev. So let's wait a while and then see if it's going to run. Okay, the reason as why you cannot, okay, if let's say if we wanted to, even you can run it using npm start, the issue with that is we cannot use npm start, because the issue you're going to get is we cannot, like, let's say if in case we make any changes, we cannot be able now to access it directly. The usefulness of node-mon is that like when you are making changes on our backend, we cannot be able now to review the changes automatically, instead of us restarting the server again and again. You know, that one can become boring. So if after running it, you can see now it's running on server, running on port 5000. Okay, so our backend is running okay. Okay, now let's now go to our job controller. We're going to start now first of all with our job controller, so that we can be able now to do the necessary. But before that, I want us now to go here to the db.js that is inside the config folder. So this is the job finder AI. Is going to contain our front end, while the backend is now going to contain our backend codes, obviously. So what I want you to do is, I want you to come first of all to the backend, and then you're going to start with this backend. So what I want you to do is, like, create the folder known as config. Then in this config, input this file known as the db.js. Okay, then also create another folder known as the controllers. Then in this controllers, create this file known as, this part of the file, JS file known as the application controller.js, and then another file known as the job controller.js. Okay, and then don't create this model, this one, let me just delete it. Don't create this one for the models, because we won't need that as per now. And then create another one known as this, known as the routers or routes. Then in this routes, you're going to have like two files, the application routes and the job routes. Okay, and then create now the main file known as the index.js. Okay, so let me explain to you in detail. So the job routes, from job controller, then the job routes, these ones are going to contain our model for accessing now the particular jobs using the API. And then now the application controller and the application routes, these ones are going to contain now the model for storing like the particular jobs that we apply. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Let us now start with this index.js. Okay, so let's first of all make the index.js to run, then we'll continue. Okay, so I want us now to start with our job controller, then we'll move to our database later, because so let me explain to you what the job controller is going to do. So the main thing of the job controller is going to help in regards now to fetch the particular jobs from Adzuna. So we're going to first of all start by importing now the, I hope you can see here. Let me show you here. We're going first of all now start by importing node fetch. Okay, because we're going to use it in regards to fetching now the particular data for our jobs. Okay, so let's now move to the job controller. So we're going to first of all start by importing fetch from node fetch, and then we're going to also now include now an export, that is export const get jobs, and this is an async function, so it's going to have a request and then a response. Then we're going to say const, and then we're going to include now the profession and the location, because that is the input in our front end. I don't know if you can remember, two of the inputs that we require the particular person to do is include now their profession and their location, for the profession that they are into, and then the location where they want the jobs to be located. And then another thing I'm going to have now here, now going to include now the Adzuna app ID. I'm going to say like const app ID is equals to process.env. So this one is going to assist in regards to access, in regards to accessing now the API, the backend, the app backend Adzuna app ID. Also now we're going to do the same for the API key. So this one is for the ID, and then this one is for the API key. I'm going to do the same. And then after doing that, now I want us now to also, here we're going now to include now a try cache. So in this try cache is the one that we're going now to include now a particular model that is going to assist in regards to fetching now the particular jobs. Then we're going to close the cache for catching any errors. So let's start with a try. So in regards to validating inputs, because we don't want a situation whereby the user doesn't include any inputs and then they press get jobs, and then like we don't want to send like empty information to the backend. So I want to be able now to validate if the information they have sent is true or not. So what you're going to do is you're going to say if there is no profession, and let's say also there is no location, so it's going to return a response status of 400. Okay, and then I'm going to say success is false because it has not reached to the API, and then it's going to give you a message of please provide both profession and location. Okay, so also we're going to now be able now to, this one's just for validating the inputs that the user includes, and then this is going to validate the environment variable if it exists or not. So we're going to say here still the same, if there is no app ID, or if maybe there is no app key. Let's say if in case maybe we forget to include those ones in our .env, if let's say if none of those exist, it's going to give a success, so false, and the message is going to say server configuration error. Okay, and it's going to say like please contact the support. Still the same also in regards now to that one for validating environment, and then this one is going to fetch now for fetching now the Adzuna. Now let's include now the particular data for fetching now the jobs. So this one is how you fetch now the particular jobs using Adzuna. So let me put it like this. So what you say is you're going to say like const country is equals to process.env, and then now include the Adzuna country, or let's say here we are just using ZA. So ZA is represents South Africa, but the reason why we have said this, we include this now Adzuna countries, because we want now like anyone from any country should be able now to include their particular country or particular city, and to be able to get the jobs that are from the particular city. But remember, like Adzuna doesn't give jobs for all the particular countries. Okay, like it has like its specific country. Okay, like particularly my country that I'm in right now, Adzuna that doesn't have like info for that country, so it doesn't give jobs for those country. But I just use ZA for South Africa because it's the nearest. So after done that, now we have your const response await fetch, and I've played this, that is HTTPS, and then include now here the api.adzuna.com, and then view1/api/jobs, then include here now the country /search, and then here the app ID to be, and then include now that app ID. Then here we have now the, let me show you. So here we have now the app key, that we also include now that app key. What that is encode URL component profession, where encode URL component, and then include now the particular location, and results per page. That means per page is 10. That means like for any jobs we get in a particular city or country, we're not going to get a maximum of 10. Okay, but you can be able now to increase also the from 10 to something else, but I think 10 is moderate and it's okay. Now after I've done that, I also want us now to include here, let's say if maybe, because sometimes Adzuna may get errors in regards maybe to accessing it or any kind of error, so we want to be able to handle it here. So what we're going to do is So we're going to say like if maybe there is no response, and if maybe the response okay is not true, and the data.results is not true, and maybe there is no array of the particular data results in regards to the country and the location. So Adzuna is going to give your console dot error of saying Adzuna API error, okay, and success is going to be false obviously, and then it's going to say no jobs found for Dutch in Dutch location. Let's say example in my country, if I include now the particular country to be, let's say France, okay, France, and then that is the country, and then the profession software engineering. If I include those ones, I tried it earlier, like Adzuna doesn't have information for jobs in that country, so it's going to give me no job found for software engineering in France. So try different search terms. Okay, so that's kind of error you're going to get. Okay, now let's say if maybe there is no results that is found, this one was in regards to any error in regards to Adzuna, and let's say if maybe if there is no error but doesn't have any information in regards to the example I gave you. So this is what it's going to say. So this is an if data.results equal to length and then equals to 0, return response the status of 200. So success is going to be true, and it's going to say like no jobs found for that in that location. Okay, that is if maybe if the success is true but it hasn't found any job in that location. Okay, now let's say to be able now to process now the results safely, we're going to include a variable const jobs, and then that is going to be data the results the slice. So that we're going to include that now. That is a dot map, so that we're going to be able now to process now the data as particularly as possible. Okay, so we're going to, first of all, this is how we are going to process. So we're going to say title, that will be the job title. I'm going to include there the job title, or let's say if maybe it doesn't have the job title, it's going to be defaulted as untitled position. Then I'm going now to include also there the company. Then include now the here is going to display now the particular company name, but if there is no company name, it's going to say company is not listed. Also, I'm going now to include also the particular part of the location. I'm going to display the location name, that is the location name of that particular job or that particular job. And then when also now if it doesn't display the location, it's just going to say we're going to put now the particular location that we had included while searching it. Okay, then you're going to also to include now the particular job URL that comes from Adzuna. Okay, else if we don't have that URL, just going to have a hash. Okay, so after doing that, we're also going to have here now our cache. Okay, so we're going to also now to include here now our cache. So this cache is just going to be handling like any error in regards to displaying now the particular errors in regards to displaying now the particular jobs. Okay, so that's how it's going to be. Okay, yeah, so from that point I want us now to move to the job routes, so that we can be able now to create the particular job routes as possible. I want us to first of all come to our db.js. I want us to now include a particular, I want us now to include now the particular codes for accessing our database, our Postgres database. So we're going to first of all starting by importing that is pg. That's going to be from pg for Postgres, and then .env. And then we're going to do here an export default pool. I'm going to show you why we're doing an export default pool. So first of all, before this, make sure you have done npm install pg. Okay, make sure you have done npm install pg. Okay, then after doing that, you're going now to include now the particular .env, the config for accessing our .env, and then here we're going to include a const pool. Then that is const pool. And then we're going to set now the pg. Sorry, and then we're going to do a const pool equals to, that is new pool, and then you're going to do here, that is connection string process.env database URL. So as we're going to access now our connection string for our Postgres. So and then I'm going to do SSL, that's process.env, node.env, then that is going to be production. Okay, reject unauthorized is going to say false, like that. And then after having done that, for accessing our database URL, now for us to be able to test if the connection has been connected or not, we're going to do this. That is going to be pull.on connect. If in case, let's say if it in case it connects successfully, we're going to get a message saying connected to Postgres database. Okay, and then here, if in case maybe let's say if in case we fail to connect successfully, so it's going to say unexpected error on idle client. Okay, that's just how it's going to say. Okay, so that's it. Now after having done that, db.js, I want us now to return to the application controller, because the application controller is the one that's going to use it a lot. So here in the application controller, I'm going to first of all start by importing now the database. So we're going to start by importing now. It is going to be pull from that path. Okay, and then after having done that, we're going to include a function for saving our application job, because sorry, remember the main aim for our application controller was just to be able now to save now the particular jobs, okay, in our database. So we're going to make this. So we're going to say export save application. Then inside this save application, obviously, let me do this. So you're going to obviously going to have now declare this. So it's going to be const, then include here Clerk user ID, the user email, the job title, the company, location, job URL. So the reason, so that means when someone presses the part of applying a particular job, the information that's going to be sent to the backend is going to be first of all the Clerk user ID, the user email, job title, company, location, and job URL, and that's the one that's going to be saved. Okay, so the reason also you include the Clerk ID is just for security purposes, and we have not just included now the email like that. Okay, because if you include the email now, it's going to be very easy for someone to be able not fake to being you, and then to be able not to access information that they are not supposed to. Then also include also the job title, company, location, job URL. Okay, and then after doing that, I want us now to include also a try case here. So in this try, you're going to first of all to be able to validate the if all the fields are there when saving or not. So we're going to do the same thing that we did earlier. So check the Clerk user ID, the job title, company, location, job URL. Case of issues, going to say missing required fields. And then we're going to do an insert application into the database. So this is how we're going to insert it. So we're going to say this is how we're going to insert it into our database, Postgres. So we're going to say const query, then include this include this backticks. Those are not quotes, those are backticks. Then include the backticks, and then I'm going to say insert into job applications, because our database, our table is known as the job application. So I'm going to insert Clerk user ID, the user email, job title, like you see like that. And then here I'm going to say const values, and then include now the same. Then const results equals to await pull.query, then include now the query values, like that. So we're going to say also here the response.status, if response.status is equals to 01, so that means that the success is true, and it's going to give you a message of application was saved successfully. Else, if maybe let's say we have an error, it's going to say error in saving the application, because it's a try cache. Okay, try cache. Now for us to be able to check for duplicate applications in case of any issues, first to be able to check for any duplicate application, so we're going to include now a kind of code error, this, and then we're going to say results, return results to be status of 409, and then it's going to say success is equals to false, and then message is going to be you have already applied to this job. Okay, then it's going to include a response of status of 500, that is going to be false, and then error saving application in case of that. Okay, now after having done that, Now first, now those ones are for saving now the particular user information. Okay, now after us saving it, now we need to be able to access that history. Okay, now first to be able to access it, we're going to also now create now another function here known as the get application history. So it's the same, and the parameter that you're going to check so as to know if it's the real person that is accessing it, you're just going to check the Clerk user ID. So that means that the user ID, when they are logging into the front end, if that user ID is the same as the one that was inserted into our database, then the person is going to be shown now the history. Okay, if they are different, then that person is not going to be shown the history. Okay, that's how it is. So again, after doing that, you're going to have to include also the try cache. So this try cache is going to say, like, if we have no Clerk user ID, it's going to return a success or false, and then message is going to say user ID is required, and then here we're going to say a const query, and then if let's say if in case of if everything is okay, then it's going to say like const query, and then it's going to give you now the particular job ID, the job title, company, location, etc. Okay, and then let's say, and then here we are doing now a const results await pull the query as query, and then including now the user ID as possible. Okay, yeah. Now, and then in case of any errors, then it's going to give you this. Okay, now that's for our first saving now the particular information. Now what about if in case of deleting? In case of deleting now, deleting now our history, because right now if you see here in our controller, we have two kind of functions. The first function is for saving our application, that's the first one, and then the second function is for getting the history. Okay, now we need to be able now to have the ability to delete the history, so that to avoid like congestion of the applied job citizen. So now first we'll be able now to delete. I'm going to include also the same kind of function for delete application. So it's going to be export const delete application, and first be able to delete it, you're going to check two things: the application ID and the Clerk user ID. So that's be able to delete it successfully, and these are just for handling if in case we have none of those. So it's going to say application ID and user ID are required if maybe we have none of those, or we don't have any of those. Yeah, but so first for security purpose, we're going to say here user is going to check, is going to delete only if it belongs to that particular user. So it's going to say delete from job applications where ID is that, and then the Clerk user is that. Okay, and then in case of maybe, let's say, in case of any issue, then it's going to give you a 404 error, and then it's going to say success is going to be false, and then it's going to give you a message of application was not found or it's unauthorized. Okay, and then we're going to include here response.json, so that will be success equals to true, and then the message is going to be application was deleted successfully, and then here we're going to now have the particular error that's going to give you in case of that particular error. Okay, so that's it with the application controller. So there we have three functions for yeah. So I want us now to move to the application routes. So this here in the application routes, you're going to also start by importing now that is the importing Express from Express, and also importing like the save application, importing the get application, and then the delete application, and all they are coming from controller/application controller. Okay, and then here first we will not save our job application. You're going to say you're going to include now this router.posts that is /app apply, then include now the particular save application. First, to get now the particular job history, you're going to say router.get, then /history. Then for getting, remember you're going to include Clerk user ID. Okay, because in regards to Clerk user ID, gotten automatically. So Clerk user ID, then get application history like that. Then for deleting an application, also we're also going to require now that is going to be the router.delete, then include now the same history, but here we're going to say we're going to need now the user ID and the application ID. Okay, I hope you can remember it. It's very important. Okay, yeah, so that's it in regards to that. Now when we look at our backend, if we come to our index.js, I think we had imported index.js. I think we had imported all of it. So we had imported already like the job routes, yeah, like that. So let's just save the whole of it and see how it's going to be. You can just do Control S. Okay, let's just wait. Okay, here getting an error. Let's look at the job routes. Oh, I had forgotten to include now the particular part for job routes. Yeah, in regards to job routes, let's now include this. So here in the job routes, you're going to import first of all Express from Express, and also we're going to import the get jobs from that particular path, which is controllers slash job controllers. And then you're going now to include also now the particular path, which is router.posts, and then include now the particular slash find, then include now the particular get job, like that. Okay, so that's it. So let's save it and then let's see how it's going to be. Yeah, it's running okay. Okay, the reason that's why right now in our database, I want to show you, I want to explain to you something. The reason that's why you're not getting this, the reason that's why you're not getting this connected to Postgres database is because of one thing. Okay, if you remember, this code here is inside the, okay, this has been imported in the application controller, and then this application controller, what it does, it only accesses the database if a job is saved on the database. And then, okay, and only when a job is saved on the database is when we're going to get here and a message saying like it was connected successfully to the the backend, okay, or to the database when you save it. Okay, so but right now we're not going to get it. But let's say if in case we didn't include, if maybe we didn't import, or if we didn't use like the database in the application controller and we used it in the index.js, now it will have told us directly if it connects to the database. Okay, but I don't really want that because it's going to give me going to take a little bit of time, so we're just going to use it the way it is. I want us now to move now to our front end. Okay, let's just close all the open tab. You can just press Ctrl W and then close everything. Now I want us now to move to our front end. In the front end, I want you to include now some 3 or 4 files. So I hope you had installed like Clerk. Okay, it's very important because you're going to use Clerk. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to include this file known as the middleware.ts. okay, and then here in the .env in the front end, I want you to have this, the next public Clerk publishable key, and this Clerk secret key. Okay, but the only thing you're going to use is the publishable key, because secret you're not going to use it right now. Secret usually is mostly at the backend. Okay, but you can just include all of them, no problem. And yeah, and then after including that, and then I hope you have now this middleware. Right now make the middleware.ts, and then make sure like the middleware.ts is outside the app folder. Okay, now in this app folder I want you to also make another folder known as the components. Okay, and then here in the components you're going to also have 2 kind of folder. So one of it you're going to name it as the history model.tsx, then the next one you're going to name it as the Navbar.tsx. okay, so can you create those ones and then you can continue. Okay, so you can see right now in the history we don't have any, we have nothing. Also in the Navbar also the middleware and the layout. So yeah, so what you can do is you can remove everything there, so that you can have everything, so that everything can just be clean. But now I want us to come first of all in this middleware.ts. So in this middleware.ts, the particular code you are going to include there, you're going to find it in Clerk. So after create Clerk, and then if you follow now the docs you're going to realize now in the middleware.ts there is this code here. There is this code that you need to be having. This one, just going to find it there in Clerk. Okay, after you create Clerk, so this is the whole code. Okay, going to see it there. Okay, so I want us also to include something in the layout, so that be able to use Clerk appropriately. So I've just removed everything in my layout, and I want us to do this. I want us first of all to import these necessary things, which we're going to look at it later. That is type, and then type metadata, the Clerk provider, the guests, and then the guest mono, then the globals.css. Okay, they are going to include all those particular styles as possible. That is the guest styles, and then the guest mono. You see, those are just styles. Okay, then now we are going to have this other one. Those ones are not very important. And then we have this other one as the export const metadata. Then that is metadata. And then the title is going to be job finder AI. The description is going to say find your dream job with AI powered job matching. And then here in the part of the export default function, in the part of the root layer, we're just going to say this one is going to be now the particular part of the children, and then read only. Then the children is going to be react node. Now in the part of the return, you're going to include now the particular Clerk provider. Like you're going to cover everything with inside a Clerk, and just include everything here that was previously. Okay, so that's just everything that's going to be there. That's just how everything is going to be here in the layout.tsx. Okay, so what we want us to do is I want us now to make our navbar and our history model, and then you're going to import everything while you are using our page. Okay, that's just how it works. Okay, well, you can make your page and then make the navbar and history, but I want to us first of all to finish making the navbar and the history model, and then just connect it with the both of them with our page, and to be able to run it successfully. Or if we get any error, we're going to solve it. So here is the history. So here in the history, we're going to import two things. So first of all, we're going to import now the user, the user, also the user button, which is coming from Clerk Nextjs, and also here in the you're going to also make sure also you had installed that is Lucid React. Okay, make sure you had installed it. So inside it you're going to get now these are the logos, the logos you're going to get, which is the briefcase and the login, and then the history. Okay, after having done that, you also want you to have an interface interface kind of prop. So it's going to be another navbar prop, and then here in the navbar prop we're going to include now the on history click and on auth click. Okay, so that means like if someone presses the part of the history click or the auth click, then it's going to behave appropriately, because if you remember in the navbar we have there we have now the history and we have the authentication, the Clerk authentication. We have both of them there. So here we're going to also create this function known as the navbar. Then you're going to pass the navbar prop there. And then include now a particular return. So this return is going to be covered by everything. It's going to be covered by something known as the nav tags. Then we're going to have a const is signed in, and then passing also the user from user. Then including here now some particular divs, some particular two divs like that. And then inside this main div we're going to have now that our logo. Okay, so this is how our logo looks like. I want you can see it there. This is how our logo looks like. It's just a briefcase, and I've given it a class name of that is width 6, height 6, text to be white. Okay, yeah. So and then you're going to include now here our name. So the name is going to be job finder AI. Then is inside a span is decided as span and has this kind of styles, from text to be 2XL, font to be bold, background gradient to be 2R, then from indigo 600, contrast to purple 600, background clip text, and then text going to be transparent. Okay, so that's how it's going to be. Then after I've done that, I want us also to make here another div. Okay, so this div also is covering, like, it's going to contain our sign in and our history. So on the left part of the navbar is the part that contain now the briefcase, and they contain the text job finder AI, and the text and on the right side is where we have now our on click for our authentication, and also we have now our history button. Okay, so after having done that, I want us also not to do the necessary for signing in. That means if the sign in button is pressed, what you want to do is if someone presses the sign in, and if they successfully sign in, want the user first name to be there, and also the user last name, okay, to be there, and also you're going to also display their email there. Okay, after they signed in successfully, and then you're going to now display now the user button appropriately. Now also here we have now another button for sign in. That means if the user hasn't signed in, they're going to get this message telling them to sign in. But if they signed in, then you're going to now get this particular information that I told you previously. Okay, but if they haven't, then you're going to get that message telling them to sign in as appropriate. Yeah, so that's it with our navbar. I think our navbar is okay. Now let's do our history model, and then after you're through with our history, then I'll finish with our page and then be able to run the application. But you can run it still, but we're going to get still error because you need to be able to make the necessary changes on the page. So here in the history, let's also import now the necessary things from React. Also we're going to import these logos from Lucid React as per that. Also another thing I'm going to say, that will be interface application, and then we're going to do an ID of string, job title, and then the company, location, etc. The interface history model. Interface history model is going to say is open, going to be boolean, on close, void, user ID is string, and then user ID either the string or undefined. Then shortest is going to be message string, typo, info, then success or error, either any of those. Okay, then you're going to include here now another function for history model, that is for checking the history. So I'm going to include here a variable that is for, first of all, this state here, use state, which is going to be passing also that is the application history, and then set application history to be used state, and then the particular application. Or if it's loading, you're going to say const loading, and then set loading to use state to be false, like that. And then you're going to say here const fetch history. I was going to use a callback, which is an async. So you're going to say if there is no user ID, it's going to return set loading. If we lack user ID, you're going to say the set loading every time. And if, let's say, if maybe everything goes successfully, and if it's able to fetch, so we're going to first of all use the try cache. So this try is the one that is going to contain the particular data for fetching the particular information. So we're going to say const res, which equals to await fetch, and you're going to include this URL. So this, okay, let me explain to you this part of the URL up to here. This one contains the backend URL where I deployed my backend on render. This is just part of it. Then from this part of the API/application/history, this one is the part of the backend. And then here we have now the user ID. The user ID will be gotten from the front end, yeah, from the Clerk front end as appropriate. Okay, yeah. But here for now, you can also include, you can just have it as HTTP 5000 is still okay. From this point, let me show you. From this point, you can just have it as HTTP 5000 is still okay because you're running it locally. Okay, and then here we're going to also have a cache. So this cache is going to do a console.error, then it's going to be error fetching history, then passing out the particular error, because you need to see like what is the error so as to be able to solve it. And then in regards to, we're going to also have a toastify. Like toastify, that means it's going to give us a toast, and it's going to say in case of any issue is going to fail, say failed to load application history. Then finally that is set load, and to be able now to delete now the particular history, one thing that you're going to need is the user ID, which is very important. Okay, so here is saying const delete from history is an async, and then application string. If there is no user ID, it's going to return. But if in case we get the user ID, so it's going to use this data inside the try. So it's going to be const response to const response, that is a wait fetch, and it's going to be http this. So this one for now I've told you now, just make it as http 5000, no problem. This one here, and then slash API slash applications slash history, and then the user ID is gotten from Clerk. Then the application ID will also be gotten from Clerk, and then method is delete. Okay, yeah. So const data await response.json. If data.success, if in case everything is successful, then it's going to say application was removed from history. Okay, if it fails, it's going to say failed to delete the application. Okay, now if in case of any error, then you're going to get this particular information telling you there has been an error. And then the use effect here that you're going to add is going just to be for fetching now the particular history. So because we need to include now this particular use effect so as to be able to fetch history, you cannot be able to fetch it if we don't include it. So also you're going to, in this return you're going to include here, we're going now to have this necessary div, and inside this div you're going to first of all have inside this one we're going to have now but this particular text saying for our height is going to be application history, and it's going to have this kind of logo saying history there. This kind of logo, let me show you this one. This kind of logo, and it's going to have the text application history inside there. Okay, and then other than that h2 you're going to have, you're going to also have another button known as the X circle. So let me show you. This is the X circle. So this one is going to appear after, because when you press the history button, there is a pop-up that appears there. So this one is going to appear when that pop-up appears. Okay, yeah. That means you're going to use that. When you press that is when you'll be able to cancel. Is when you'll be able to close that pop-up. Okay, like that. So after I've done that, I want us now to come here. So because they remember, like for the history, they are being gotten from the database, so it's going to need a little bit of loading. So we're going to set here a set of loading. So we're going to say here loading. Here we're going to say like it's loading. If it's loading, then it's going to say like you're going to have now this part of the paragraph which is going to say loading your history. Else is going to just say it's going to show you now the particular application history dot length. It's going to show you that loading your history. Else, if maybe it's not going to do that, then it's just going to show you the particular history length. Okay, or the particular history. Okay, yeah. And else, if maybe we don't have, if it has finished loading, and maybe if it has no history, it's just going to give you the particular text, no application yet. That means you have not applied yet. Okay, and then it's going to give you and start applying to jobs, and they'll appear here. Okay, so after doing that, what you're going to do here, I want us to, let's say if in case from this point here, this one appears if you have not applied. Okay, but let's say if, but this one here appears if its success is true. Okay, if success is good, it's true. But now let's say if success is true and we have jobs. Okay, we have applications, we have jobs that you have applied to. So what you're going to do, you're going to say application history dot map. So it's going to map throughout the particular results. Then it's going to display those history of our job applications, and then it's going to display them. So we're going to display now the particular app.job title, the app.company, then the app.location as appropriate. Okay, yeah, and then it's going to show you you had applied it on this particular date. Okay, it's going to show you like now the particular date that you had applied to it. Okay, like that. And then like there below it, you're going to get now another text saying view job, and then this, when you press this view job, is using a target blank. That means you're going to be taken to a new tab, and then that new tab is going to contain the job URL, the particular job URL. Okay, yeah. So after doing that, I want us also to have also another thing for deleting now our job history for our trash. So you're going to have a logo for trash here. So this logo for trash is going to, when you press it, you're going to delete it, and it's going to have the style of width 4, height is going to be 4. Okay, so the button, that means on click, is going to delete from history. That means the app ID, and then that means it's going to together now the app ID, and then it's going to have a class name text thread 500. Then hovering is going to be text thread of 700. Okay, so that's it with our history model. Okay, so here is how our page looks like. So what you're going to do is, let us first of all import the use client, because we're using Nextjs. Then you're going to use here an export default. So you're going to name our function as job finder app. Okay, because this is the main part of the app. Okay, so after having done that, I want us to use some of the imports that you're going to import. For example, you're going to import useState, because you're going to have like some states here that you're going to be using. Also, you're going to use Clerk, so you need to import like the user, the sign in and the sign up button, very important. Also, these logos are importing from Lucid React. And also the other thing, the two of the things we're going to import is the Navbar and the history that we had made earlier. Okay, so after having done that, also want us to do here in regards to the interface of the job. So we're going to have a title, which is title of the job, which is going to be a string, and then the company, which is going to be a string, and the location string, and then the URL is going to be a string. Okay, so if you think about, like, if you don't know what I'm talking about strings, like you need like to go and learn your JavaScript a little bit, and then you'll be able to know what I'm talking about. Now here also you're going to use this. So we're going to say here to toast type is going to be info, success, or error. So interface toast data is going to be message string, and then type toast type. That means that here what you're talking here is in regards to the toastify, because as you can remember, like if you are able to create now the particular, if you are able to save or get the particular job, we usually, like in our application, we used to get like the toastify, the React toastify, telling us that we've been able to do that particular thing successfully. So that's what we are doing here in regards to toastify. So we're going to make here a function for toastify. So so here we're going to say like this is going to say const toast, and then passing now the particular message, which is a empty string as per now. Then the type is going to be info on close. Then it's going to be include now the message string, type is toast type, and then the on close. And then the success is going to be the check circle, and then class name of it, the width to be 5, height to be 5, and then the error is going to be x circle. The class name is going to be width 5, height 5. Still the same also for the info. Okay, now here also we need now to create now the particular const colors for our toasts. So in case you get success, then it's going to use that color. If you get an error, then it's going to be that, and also for the info is going to be that. Okay, now here I want us now to create now the particular return. So return, this is just a return for the toast, for the toast. Okay, So in this return, we're going to include now this particular part of the div. Then this div has two things. So we have first of all this icon, okay, and also you have this part of the message, okay, but the paragraph for the message, and also you have the X circle, okay. So after we're done with that, now let's come to our function job finder app. So that one was just for the toasts. So in this job finder app, so these are the things we're going to be using here in our job finder app. So the same thing, so almost the same thing. We have the so it's going to be here. So this in regards to the state. So we have the is signed in. Also you have the user. Also you have the profession, set profession, and then you have the location, set location, the jobs, set jobs, the loading, set loading, the show auth model, then the set show auth model. Also you have the toast and then the set toast. You have the has searched, also this has set has searched. Then lastly you have the show history and the set show history. And then you are going to do a const that is show toasts, which is going to be message, which is string. Type is going to be toasts type, which is info. Then after we include now the set toast to be message type, set timeout. That means after this particular time, then the toastify is going to disappear. After like that, then here we're going to do a const find jobs. That means if so when someone has included now the particular data in our front end and they press the search job, find job, so we're going to first of all check these parameters if they apply or not. So we're going to say if the user is not signed in, we're going to show them a message saying please sign in to search for jobs. That means a user who wasn't signed in cannot be able to search for jobs, so they need first of all to sign in to be able to search for jobs. And then here we're going, if that is, let's say if the user is signed in, then it's going to check this second parameter or second condition, which is going to say like if there is no profession dot trim, if or if there is no location dot trim, it's going to say like please enter both profession and location. That means if someone has failed to include the profession or has failed to either include the profession or the location, I'm going to tell them that, okay. And then it's going to set loading to be true, and then the set search to be false. Now also here inside this same const find jobs, we're going to have now a try cache, okay. So in this try is the one that, let's say if all those two conditions are like they are false and everything is okay, then it's going to come to this try, and then it's going to try to access now the backend to be able to look for particular jobs using like to access a backend source to get the particular jobs. So this is the same, I know we can remember it. Then you have /API /jobs /find. So that one's the one for the API, API backend, API backend route for accessing our backend. Then the method is going to be post. Headers is going to be content type application /JSON. Okay. Then the body is going to be JSON dot stringify, like that. Then you're going to say here const data is equal to await response.json, and then you're going to say if there is no response.ok. If there is no response.ok, then it's going to show toasts. It's going to show a toastify message, which is say like the data.message, or it's just going to say failed to fetch jobs. Okay. Else if there is data.job and there is data.jobs.length, then it's going to show now a success of toastify message of success, and it's going to say like it's found 10 jobs or that particular number of jobs, and then it's going to say success. Yeah. So that means that but for this part of the data.jobs.length, I think it's just going to show like 10 jobs, because as you can remember, like our API, like that Adzuna API, we had included it to fetch like particular request, so it was just supposed to fetch like maximum of 10 jobs. Okay, so it's going to be 10 jobs by default. But including this, what it does is that it just gives it the autonomy to be able to fetch as many jobs as it wants. Okay, or as maybe if it can be able to fetch maybe 4 jobs and then say found 4 jobs. Okay, if it's a success. Else if that is not true, then it's going to just state it's just going to say no jobs was found for the profession that included in that particular location. Then try different keywords or location. So that's how it is. But in case if is false, then it's going to show you the particular cache which is error. It's going to say network error, please check your connection. Finally, it's going to set loading. Finally, we need to set loading to be false. Then set has search to be true. Okay, yeah. So that's one just for preventing like yeah. And then also that one was for applying for the part of fetching the particular jobs. Okay, that was just for finding particular jobs. Now we need also to include now here another function for handling now the job apply. So this part of the handling job apply is for our history section. So it's going to be the same. This one is just going to be checking if the user is signed in or not. To be able to check the history. If you haven't signed in, you're going to be, if you want to check the history and you haven't signed in, you're going to be required to sign in. Then as you can see here, you're just using the same try cache. So you can see the same try, which has the fetch. Then you have the post, method is post. Then the headers, the body, you can see everything is just the same. The Clerk user ID, the user email, the body title, company, location, the job URL. Okay. And then if it's success, then it's going to say if data.success, going to show autosify or application was saved, then redirect to job. Okay. And then it's going to open another window, another tab, so as to show you now the particular job that was you had saved, that you had pressed apply. Okay. Then if in case that is false, then it's going to just give you it's going to use the part of the cache which is going to tell you like error saving the application. Yeah, so we're going to include here now our return. So in this return you're going to include 2 things. We're going to include our navbar. So this navbar is going to contain 2 things. So first of all, it's going to contain the on history click, okay, which when pressed needs to show us the show history, and it's going to also contain the on auth click, which when pressed needs to show us now the set show auth. Okay, yeah. And the reason I'm including this part of the toast just for reactosify. I think that one you know the reason. Yeah, so just for reactosify. And then I want us now also to do this. I want us now to be able to handle the key press. Okay, in case of any key press for finding jobs. So like that. So I want us also to use now the particular part of the show auth model. So that means that if show auth model and show auth model and is not signed in, then to be able to do this, it's going to do this. So that means it's going to have this part of have this part of the login. Going to have this part of the login logo, and then the height is going to be welcome to job finder AI, and then the paragraph is going to be sign in to start your job search journey. Yeah, so but in case of that, means if you have been able to sign in, then you're going to see this part here, up to here. That if you have been able to sign in. But if you haven't been able to sign in, then you're going to see either this button for sign in button. You're going to see this sign in with Clerk. Yeah, you're going to see that one, sign in with Clerk, or you're going to see this part of the sign up with Clerk. So you're going to see the text register, or you're going to see the text sign in with the Clerk, and when you press it, you can be able to sign in. Okay, but if you have been able to sign in, then you're going to see this login icon. Then you're going to say welcome to find you. We're going to see now this other message here. Okay, also you're going to see these 2 messages here, and then you can be able to pick the one as appropriate. and then this part of the maybe later. So this one was for just the card that will appear. That means if you press the part of the history or the navbar and you haven't signed in, you're going to see the particular that card that you are seeing, and then it's going to have that particular information for telling someone to sign in or not. Yeah, and then you have now this part of the history for showing history. So here for showing history, here we're going to say like is open, show history, and then on close that will be set show history. The user ID is going to be user ID, and then the show toast as appropriate, like that. Okay. Also here we're going to now have this main. So inside this main you're going to have a paragraph. So this paragraph is going to contain two things. So it's going to contain, first of all, it's going to contain this discover 1,000 opportunities tailored to your skills, and also you're going to have this H1. This H1 is going to have this text, find your dream job. Then below it you need now to have that particular part of the search. Okay, so we're going to also include now this other div, and inside this div we're going to have this input. This input was the one for the search, as you can remember. But this one is for searching now, either for searching either the placeholder is job title or the profession. Yeah, so that's the input that we're going to have there, and then it's going to have now the logos that is going to be there is going to be briefcase. Yeah, and then we'll need another input. So the first one, this first input was for profession. Then this other input that you're going to need here is for location, the location. I hope you can remember it. And then it's going to also have this this logo for mapping, like that. Okay, so after being able now to do that, we'll need also to include here a button. So that means when you include now the particular location and the profession, and then when you press it, you're going to find this thing telling you like load searching or finding jobs, or it's going to tell you loading. Okay, as appropriate. Yeah, so and then here below it you're going to have now another div that is going to handle the particular part of the loading. Okay, but let's say here if it in case if maybe if it's loading, and if it gets now the particular job, it's going to display now the particular jobs, or it's going to give you an error. Yeah, but let's assume that everything is okay based on our based on this jobs.length. So it's going to use a .maps to be able now to access like all of them. So in accessing all of them, it's going to first of all include a job title, the job company, and also the job location as appropriate. Okay, in its map. Okay, and then below it you're going to also have not below it, like on the sides of that job applying, you're going to also have another text saying apply now. And when you press this apply now, you're going now to be taken to that particular job, to be, so that you can be able to apply. Okay, so when you press that apply now, which is an on click, you're going to be taken to that particular part of the handling apply for the particular job. Okay, I hope you can remember it. Let me show you here. You can remember it from here, handle apply. Okay, and this part of the handle apply, that's what is going to happen there. Okay, when you press that apply. Okay, so after being able not to do that, let's say if in case you get any error, if maybe let's say if it's not loading and as such, and maybe it hasn't found any kind of job, so you're going to get something telling you no jobs was found. Then or maybe you cannot be able to find that particular job, and then you'll be able to be required now to include a particular profession or location as per your need. Okay, yeah, so that's how it is. And yeah, I think from that point we've been able to do everything. Yeah, so we'll be able not to include we'll be able not to include everything for that part. And then now let's now include now our particular footer. This is the footer. The footer of course is just going to be very simple. It's going to just have one line kind of text saying that, and then yeah, and then now let's include now our particular global styles for this part of the page. So this is the styles that we're going to include. So yeah, so that is keyframes is going to be slide in, then from transform translate x 100 to transform translate x 100, then animate is going to be slide in. Yeah, so after doing that, let me now you can just save it and then do npm run dev. So after saving it, this is what I'm saying. So let me try to run it. Let me now try to see what my front end says. Now looks like, you can see like everything looks okay. And then let's try now to log in and see how everything is going to behave. Yeah, like the login works perfectly. Now let's try now to include now the particular input so as to know if it's working or not. And then when you press there, 1 second, then let's see. Okay, so everything looks okay. You can see there are the jobs, you can see them. So everything looks like it's working as required. Yeah, it looks okay. And then there is another thing I want us to check or to look at. Okay, when we press that, we are supposed to be redirected to another particular page where like that particular job information is. Now let's see here. Yeah, you can see here is the particular job that we've been redirected to. So that one works okay as expected. Yeah, now I want us now to look at our history and see if that particular information has been saved to our history. 1 second as it's loading. Yeah, you can see now those particular information is there as required, and you can be able to delete it as necessary. Yeah, so everything looks okay in regards to how the web app right now works. What I want us now to do, I want us now to deploy it. So if you come to GitHub, open your GitHub, and then first you're going to make now a new repository in GitHub. So let me make the new repository, and then we're going to make first of all the new repository of the repository, and then push it to GitHub, then from GitHub and then deploy it. So but remember, like, it's not a must for you to use GitHub. You can use like any one that you want, like maybe even the Git basket or the GitLab. It just depends on you. First, to deploy it, after making that particular repository, you're going to just paste this information there in the terminal or the CMD, but make sure you are in the right path. Okay, yeah. So and then after pasting it, let's just wait some seconds so that it can be one out to upload the necessary information. Now just after deploying it successfully, I want us now to see if everything is going to work okay. So let me see. So you can see here we have now our backend and also the folder that contains our front end. So everything looks okay. So the only thing you're going to do right now is you're going to now deploy it on the front end. So let's come to the front end, and then write to Vercel. We're going to use Vercel for deploying our front end, and then in the backend we're going to be using Render for deploying our backend. Yeah, so this is how it is. Let me now try to log in as appropriate. But before that, let me open render again for so that they can be side by side. So let me try to log in on all of them. Okay, so that's how it looks at render. So remember, render is just for backend. Okay. One second. So after you've done that, now when you come to our backend, pick the particular application, and I'm just going to be focusing on the backend, okay, because not focusing really, we're going to be deploying the backend because we are using render right now, because render is the one that is open. And then you're going to include all the necessary information. And remember that the place that I've written like npm is supposed to be npm install. Okay, so make sure to note that it's supposed to be npm install, not just npm. That was the mistake that I did earlier, and it costed me like a little bit of time before I found out like the issue that I had made. Okay, and then pick the particular tire. First you're going to just pick the free tire first of all, because for us it's just for hobby. But before that, I want us to come to here. There are some things that we need to do. One second. There's something I'm looking for. Yeah, this is part of the .env. Like, let's copy this .env for the backend, the whole information in the .env, or if you included it in the .env.local, then copy the whole of it and then come to the .env part and then paste it there. Because like, remember, let's say if you're running a backend, and then like this backend depends on the information in the .env. If it's absent and you're not included it, then if you try to run, then you're going to get an issue. Okay. Also, it works the same also for the front end part. So for now, let's run it and then see how it's going to run. But you're going to get an issue, because do you remember like the other time I told you, like where I had written npm, it was supposed to be npm install. Okay, but now let's return to our Vercel. I want us to focus on Vercel because the front end is going to be much quicker, and then when we finish the front end, then we'll focus on the back end, which may take some time. Okay, so let's do the same for Vercel. Here it is. If you are new, then let's pick the best, not really the best, the particular web app. Let's pick it, and then as necessary. Yeah, so 1 second. Okay, so after I've done that, now make sure like to give that domain name make sure to give it the domain name an appropriate name. Or you can just leave it the way it is currently. If you leave it the way it is currently, then there is no issue with that, because there's no issue with that, then everything is just going to still be okay. Now let's pick now the front end and then deploy it. But also make sure like to include also the necessary .env in the front end, just the same way that we did for the back end. Okay. And then after I've done it, I'll make sure to deploy it. Then let's wait some few seconds for it to be deployed successfully, or if in case we get any error, we might solve it. So let's say during deployment, what usually causes a lot of error is sometimes deployment. So in case if you stumble across any error, you can just come to the YouTube description and then paste your question. But I usually encourage someone to paste it in our Discord. Okay, I usually encourage someone to paste it in the Discord, because in the Discord then you'll be able to get assistance from anyone. You can see now our frontend has been deployed successfully. You can see. So in the Discord, when you input your particular issue, then it will be very much easy for someone to assist you, because I may not be maybe available, or I may be busy at that time, but someone else may be available and they may be able to assist you. So yeah, but I know if you get an issue, don't just don't be afraid to ask. Okay, so our frontend is deployed. Okay, now our backend had some issues, but right now I think it's deployed. Okay, I've solved the particular issue that we had. So the particular issue that we had was just a very small issue in regards to some inputs not being used or something like that. Yeah, so but I've been able to solve it. But also I'm going to put link for the whole of these codes there in the description. I'm also going to put now the links also for all our assets there in the description, and anything that you're going to need. Yeah, so from this point I think we are through with everything. I don't think there is any other thing that you have not done, but everything looks okay. Yeah, so right now I think we are through with everything. Yeah, so we are through. So what you can do is the key takeaways is what you can do is you can add as many features on our current web app as possible, or if maybe there is anything that you want to add, if after adding it you can tag me, then I'll be able to do the necessary. Okay, yeah, you can just tag me on them on the socials. I'm going to put the link for my X, and also for my X there below, and then you can be able to follow me as appropriate. Okay, yeah, so we've been able now to install everything, and then everything looks okay, so we don't have any issue. The backend looks okay, the front end looks okay, and yeah, so let's meet in the next video. Until next time, thank you guys for watching up to this point. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.